Hey everyone, my name is Asha, and if you're new to my channel, this channel has kind of been a hub for university advice as well as work-related advice and just kind of following my life sometimes as well. So this video is about something that I think is super important for those of you that are starting to apply for university, mainly because I've seen that this is a question a lot of you guys have asked me and something that some of you may struggle tying back to your applications, and that's volunteering or extracurriculars. I've noticed that a lot of you guys have started to take a really big focus on quantity versus quality. And I've also noticed that you're not really sure how to tie some of these experiences that you guys have had back to your applications in a very meaningful way. And so one of the things that I do want to say, if you're watching this video early enough, if you're not, don't worry, don't stress about it. But I think it's really important for some of you to find a volunteer position that you're going to do for an extended period of time. So that could be you starting in grade 9 or grade 10 and kind of moving it all the way to grade 12 so you can show that you've been consistent, you've been at the same volunteer position, and you've progressed in that role. And it just shows your commitment overall to a specific volunteering role, and it shows that you didn't just choose it off a whim like a year before you have to start applying, because now people are going to start looking at your extracurriculars and so on. And so I think it's really important to try your best to kind of set yourself up for success early on. Don't think about this stuff the year before you have to apply. And if you are one of those people that are thinking about it a year before, don't stress out, because I know people who were similar and they were in a similar boat and they were fine with it. And so it's not the be all end all, but it's just one key advice that I have in case you're somebody that's starting to think about this earlier on. I would definitely say, start showing your interest in things outside of school early on as well. Don't make it so that you're doing it a year before, essentially. And honestly, this video is going to be kind of short because that's one of the main advice. And the other thing that I've noticed is a lot of you aren't sure how to choose quality volunteer positions or extracurriculars. So when I say some of you are choosing quantity over quality, the way that I can see that that's what's happening is that there are a lot of things being thrown into one application question and a lot of positions being thrown in, but nothing of substance to explain why you're even putting that in your application in the first place. And what I mean by that is that, for example, I have seen somebody who's working at a senior home, and they've written that they worked there for 3 hours a week, every week for a year, and that they've helped with the filing system, and that they've greeted 100+ different individuals and have had to carry conversations with them. And then they'll move on to the next position. And so just sticking with what I've said so far, there isn't really a lot of quality in that answer, and it seems like facts are just being thrown into the application for the sake of throwing it in, and not because it should actually be there. And so when I saw this paragraph, I told the student, okay, these are great points. First of all, they're not bad points at all. It's just that you're not adding that so what. Every sentence you write, you should ask yourself, so what? Why did I just put this in here? What is it saying? So you working 2 hours a week, or whatever hours I said, that it's in itself is not super high quality. Instead, what would be more high quality is saying that you were able to efficiently manage your time by working 2 hours a week at the senior home while still maintaining X GPA at your high school. And now you've tied that all around. You've told this university now that you've had to volunteer X amount of hours, and that was difficult, and you had to manage your time properly in order to be successful in all the other parts of your life. And so that's one way that now I can see, okay, the student chose this volunteer position intentionally, and they're telling me what value and qualities that they've added from this. And then the next part is talking about the filing system. Okay, you help them with their filing system, but what does that do? What does that tell this university that you're good at now? What that could tell them is you're really good at taking initiative on organizing different files in a manner that you think is most efficient. And this now tells them that you've taken the initiative to, help with this filing system every week. You don't need to be told what needs to be done. You're able to know yourself. and you're able to do it in an organized manner. And organization is a really, really important part of not only being in university, but in life. You need to know how to organize things very well. And so that's another really important part. And then with the other aspect of having to talk to 100 plus people, you effectively were able to communicate with different people, and you adapted to different situations successfully, where you were given positive feedback from the 100 plus interactions that you've had with people. Now you're throwing words in there where this university is going to read your sentences and they're going to say, okay, like I see exactly what value that they're adding from this volunteer position and what they've gained out of it. Not just that they're talking to people. Everybody talks to people. You don't really know what value that adds until you frame it in a way that makes sense. And so I think these are ways where I'm seeing people are trying to hit that word limit and squeeze in like 5 different volunteer things that they've done. But it's really important to step back and think, okay, out of these 5, which 1 or 2 can I use this word count for to really explain what I've done, where that university is going to say, this is somebody we want in this program, because all of those qualities combined is important for this program and for that career that this program is going to give them. And honestly, I think that that's like one of the most important parts of the volunteer position, and one of the most important parts of application writing that I find a lot of new students are struggling with. And don't feel demotivated if that's the case, because I remember when I wrote my university application, I wrote like, I'm not even exaggerating, I probably wrote like 10 plus drafts of my application for each university, because there's always room for improvement and there's nothing wrong with that. It's, if anything, it's satisfying. It's good to see you go from that first version to the 10th and you're seeing how much better it's gotten and how much it's progressed. So yeah, and I kind of wanted to take a second to also talk about different characteristics that universities are looking for and things that you could consider doing as your extracurricular or volunteer position that might be able to give you guys some insight and help you kind of figure out how to start narrowing down what volunteer position to do. Because if you just Google where to volunteer, there are hundreds of things that are going to come up, and not all of those are going to be suitable to you specifically. And so let me just get into those few things. I have about 5 different characteristics that I think are going to be important for you to take a look at or to think about that are pretty common to every program, and I've tried to generalize it. And leave in the comments below if you want me to do one very specific to a program and like what volunteer or extracurriculars you should do for that specific program. And I can let you know, or I can reach out to other people if it's not my specific program and ask them, what advice do they have, and I'll relay back to you all. The first quality is leadership. And that is going to be pretty much standard amongst every single program you're going to apply to. No program isn't going to want someone that has leadership qualities. And so in my case, when I was in school, I was the president of a club. And I was an exec member of a few other clubs as well. And so being an executive member of a club in itself demonstrates leadership qualities. And I think that's really important to try to look for when you're trying to find different positions or volunteer things that you could be doing. Or it could literally be you at work being promoted from one role to another role. I know people who, are promoted from a cashier to being somebody who helps manage the different cashiers. And that in itself also shows leadership skills. So kind of intentionally look for something where you can progress, or you kind of have an end goal on how you can be a leader in a specific extracurricular that you're going to do, because leadership is so important in almost everything that I've seen, and it's what's going to make you stand out from other applicants as well. The second quality is communication skills. It's really, really important to communicate effectively and do a good job at it, because every job is going to mostly involve you interacting with other people, and that means that you need to be good at communicating. And so one of the things that I did when I was in high school was that I helped to tutor students. And tutoring is a really, really good way not only to show your communication skills, but your dedication to education and, cultivating these long-term lifelong learners, essentially. But being a tutor is really important because you have to communicate well, because some of these students might not be able to understand concepts. And so you have to kind of reframe different situations based on the person you're talking to. And it's not always going to be the same way of communication with every person. You're going to have to adapt your communication skills and the way you're communicating to every single person. For example, some people are auditory learners, some people are visual learners. And so when you're tutoring, you kind of have to implement those different ways to make it so that your student understands what they're learning. And for example, if tutoring isn't something that you're interested in, you could always even do Toastmasters, which is a public speaking class where, you're learning how to communicate effectively. And that's also equally as good of a thing to show, because it shows that you've identified something that maybe you're not amazing at, and that's okay, but you're putting in the effort to actually work on it, which is in itself already showing initiative, and it's showing that you're strong, you're growing at your communication skills, and you're working on it, and you're getting better and progressing. The third situation is your adaptability to different situations. And this I find is important for every role, and I think it's more so something that I've noticed as I've went through different co-ops and I've worked in different fields as well as in school, because you're going to be put into group projects, you're going to be put on to different clients, and you're going to be put on to different things where you're going to have to adapt the way that you work in order to successfully complete something. And that applies in all of university, and that applies in all of real life as well. And so adapting to different situations is really important. And some of the ways that I found that I had to do that was when I worked at when I volunteered at my senior home. And this was because there were people who had Alzheimer's or dementia who would come down, and they would ask to leave, and of course they weren't allowed to leave, and the place is kind of locked down, and you had to kind of diffuse the situation before it got worse. And so I think that was a way that I showed, I could adapt to different situations easily, and I could think on my feet really fast. And so senior home is a really great place, or even working with kids is a really great place, because they're kind of unpredictable sometimes, and you kind of have to figure out how to help them. And so when I was in high school, sometimes I would go back to my elementary school to ask teachers if they ever needed help with something, and I would go in and help them. And that's also another way that you can show them your adaptability to different things. Or even just working part-time as a cashier, pretty much a lot of different things, you need to adapt to different situations. So this one isn't super hard to think of a role for you, but I would keep that at the top of your mind as something when you're choosing a position to do. Fourth thing that I've noticed has set me apart significantly from other candidates is my initiative that I take sometimes. And by initiative, I mean that it's really important for you to show that you really care about something, and that you take the initiative to start something and to carry it through. And for example, I've tried to help start something, like co-found a company. While it wasn't successful, that literally doesn't matter. What matters is that I took the initiative to try and start that with other people. In addition, this YouTube channel, this is in a way that I've taken initiative to try and create videos and try to create something that sets me apart from other people, while also doing something that I love. I love talking to people, I love giving them advice, and this is exactly what I'm doing on this channel now. And so taking initiative is really, really important, and I think this one is catered just to you. Find something that you like to do, take the initiative to do it. This could be starting a new club at your school as well, or if you're interested in starting YouTube videos, do that. Or if you're interested in making TikTok videos that, at the same time, they have to be professional. They have to be something that you can present to somebody and show them, look, I've taken initiative to do this. But you could do that through TikTok as well. There's a lot of different opportunities and ways for you to leverage social media and online platforms to take initiative. And yeah, I think it's just important to find what you like specifically and cater it towards that, because it's going to be different for you as well as everybody else. And the fifth one that I thought of, that I think this one is more so my preference than I think is needed for everything, is ESG. I think environmental, social, governance related issues are growing, and I think they're going to be increasing in importance, because even at my company, ESG is something that now we have metrics for. It's something that we look into. It's something that is highly valued amongst a lot of people and the community in general. And so just doing my own research, I noticed that, there's a lot of different things that you can join to help clean up parks around your area, clean up beaches around your area, things to help the environment, which, I think is growing in importance, and I think soon that this is going to be something that is important to show. And this also ties back into my initiative thing. You can join something and say that you took the initiative to want to advocate for environmental related issues, and you wanted to join something that is related to the environment and helping it. And so just to sum it up, the 5 things that I think are really important for you to kind of focus on and try to implement, especially with this evolving. So overall, the 5 characteristics that I think are really important are going to be leadership qualities, communication, adaptability to situations, and taking initiative. And the last one is more so something that I think is important, which is more ESG focused volunteer positions, because I think that this is growing in demand and it's growing in importance. And I think it's better to get an early start on this if this gets thrown in as a question in future years, which I think could be very, very possible. And so I think with this advice, hopefully this helps a little bit. Please let me know if it does, or if it didn't, let me know why, because, you know, we're all growing at this together, and maybe there's something that I missed that you guys think is important. So please, if that's the case, leave it in the comments below. I'm sure other people would love to hear from it. And, you know, this channel is kind of to create a community of different people giving advice and different people listening to that, and just having an open mind. So just be kind. And I would love to hear what you guys have to say as well. Hopefully you guys are able to take this and use this while you're applying for universities. And please reach out to me if you have any questions, or you kind of want to see what I think of certain things you guys are thinking of writing in your applications, and I would love to take a look. But good luck. You guys are going to all do amazing. I know it. And regardless of what volunteer position you've chosen, I'm sure it's amazing. It just depends on how you frame it. And hopefully I've given you some of the tools that you can use to frame it well. I wish you the best of luck on applying for university and finding your different university extracurriculars that you want to use. And just remember to enjoy the journey and not take it too seriously at the same time, because this is going to be a very fun part of your journey and you're going to enjoy it, I bet. So good luck.